This is John Callahan with Michigan Pool News. I am here today with John Caden, who is the Accessibility Specialist for S.R. Smith. Many of you may recognize that name because John was actually here in town in Novi back in April presenting at a ADA seminar that Aquatic Source put on. So John has come back on the line with us today, and welcome, John. Good to have you on the line again.
Thank you.
You know, John, we are all aware that the ADA regulations are coming down on March 15th, which basically gives people about 3 months to get prepared. That's not a lot of time. What should facilities be doing right now to get prepared for these new regulations?
Well, that's a great question, John. And basically there are two things that they should be doing or should have done by this point. If they haven't already done so, any facility should perform what's called a barrier removal analysis. And then this is an exercise that determines three things. Number one, they determine whether or not the facility is under ADA jurisdiction. If it's not under ADA jurisdiction, the exercise is over. Number two, what elements within the facility will need to have barriers removed? For example, how many bodies of water are there and what type are they? And number three, are there any existing means of access within the facility? And if there are they compliant with the ADA regulations? Now, this audit can be performed by a facility manager, but many pool service companies would be happy to assist in the process. In order to facilitate this process, we have prepared a swimming pool compliance guide, and this guide will walk you through the process step by step. And John, maybe you can just let your customers know how they can get their hands on one of these guides.
Absolutely. We have got a supply of about 50 of these guides back at our office right now at Aquatic Source. We've already sent out a lot of these guides to our current customers. If you do not have one, call our office as soon as possible. The number is 248-366-0606. Now, the priority will be to get these out to our current customers, but if you're not a current customer but you enjoy watching Michigan Pool News, feel free to call that number again, 248-366-0606, and we'll get a copy out to you right away.
Okay, so once the barrier removal analysis has been completed, the next step is to use that information from the analysis to develop an implementation plan. The implementation plan should contain the following information. First of all, there should be confirmation that the facility is under ADA jurisdiction. And if it's not under ADA jurisdiction, explain why it's not. The second thing is to identify the elements within the facility that are in need of barrier removal modifications. Thirdly, determine if these modifications are readily achievable. If they're not readily achievable, explain why they're not. Number four, if there are any existing means of access in the facility, determine if they meet the regulations. If they do not meet the requirements, explain how they will be brought up to the standards. Number five is lay out a timetable for the modifications that are planned. If equipment needs to be ordered, when will it be ordered? Who will it be ordered from, and when will it be installed? Number six, list any new policies or procedures that will be initiated that relate to the barrier removal program. For example, there may be an updated check-in procedure to let swimmers know how the pool is accessible, or specify exactly what is the staff's responsibility for assisting swimmers with disabilities. Number seven is provide a schedule for staff training to implement these new programs, including how the staff will be trained to operate any new equipment or other modifications made to the facility. And number eight, if equipment is provided to provide accessibility, outline the procedures that will be followed to ensure that the equipment is maintained in proper working condition. All of this information should be written down and kept on file within the facility. In the unlikely event that your facility's accessibility is ever challenged through a complaint, this documentation will prove that your facility has been proactive in complying with the ADA regulations. And this process should be completed by March 15th of 2012.
John, what's the risk here? What happens if somebody is not compliant by March 15th, and what's going to happen to them?
Well, you know, John, there's not going to be a whole cadre of accessibility police running around the country. Now, because the ADA is what's called a complaint-driven statute. What that means is that somebody has to file a complaint before any action is taken. Excuse me. These complaints can come in a couple different forms. somebody can call the Department of Justice, for example, and lodge a complaint and saying that, hey, I stayed in a hotel in Novi, Michigan, and the swimming pool wasn't accessible. Chances are the DOJ isn't going to get that much involved in a single issue. Where they get involved is on a widespread systemic type program. So, for example, if that hotel were a member of a national chain, and then there were enough complaints against that chain, then the DOJ may get involved looking at all the different hotels within a certain chain. And that's pretty much how they get involved. More often than not, the way the ADA is enforced is through private complaints, private lawsuits initiated a lot of times by what we call professional plaintiffs. And these are guys that go around with tape measures and inclinometers just looking for instances of noncompliance. And what they end up doing is either filing a complaint directly with the facility, or else they can even initiate a lawsuit, saying that they've been discriminated against because the facility is not accessible. The outcome of private complaints is typically a judge will make a ruling that the facility has to comply, and the offending facility may have to pay the plaintiff's legal fees. If it gets to the DOJ level, the DOJ has the ability to assess fines upwards of $50,000 against offending facilities.
Okay. Well, John, I want to thank you for your time today and coming on Michigan Pool News, and definitely thank you for all of the work you've done to push this whole initiative forward. It's so important for every pool operator in the whole country. So thank you again for coming on the line. If you'd like a copy of that compliance guide, the number again is 248-366-0606. Call that number and we'll have one out in the mail to you right away. So, John, thank you, and enjoy your travels as you're going around the country working on this issue.
Thanks, John. I just want to interject one other thing. If anybody has any specific questions about anything relating to the ADA or accessibility for swimming pools, SR Smith has a wonderful website. It's www.poollifts.com. And this is more of a resource site as it is a sales site. What we try to do on that site is compile any information related to the ADA or swimming pool accessibility. And if you can't find an answer on that, we also have a feature that's an Ask an Expert opportunity where you can basically type in an email and send it to us with a specific question, and we'll get back to you with a specific answer. And that's www.poollifts.com.
Well, we'll make a point of putting that link right below this video, so that's a great resource for people. Okay, thank you very much, John, and we'll be talking to you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.